It's been just over a week, so I'll document my progress. Coming back home, I knew that it would be harder and much more complicated than I originally thought. I was humbled very quickly by the reality that is here at home on the reservation. So since I made the last video, I stayed with my cousin Carl for a week, who was kind enough to offer me a place to stay. Thanks, Carl. Tuesday was my first real day of getting out there and seeing what the climate was like, what the landscape was like, and really trying to implement my ideas. I traveled to the 2 chapters I worked with when I was with my previous company, when I was living up in Denver, and we refurbished the system that was near Grand Falls. I went to the Loop chapter. Unfortunately, it was closed that day, so then I immediately headed over to Talani Lake, which is the neighboring chapter. And I was pleasantly surprised to run into Dwayne Benali. And Dwayne, he served as the guide for us while we were there in Loop last year when I was with that company. And he was one of the volunteers on the refurbishment last February. So what Dwayne does, he works on getting water pipelines out to communities so they can have running water. I talked with him a little bit about what I want to do, and he informed me that most of Talani Lake's residents are already hooked up to electricity, and the ones who aren't are pretty much already in the process. After talking with him, he directed me over to Talani Lake Enterprises, which was just next door, and that was run by Stephanie Hall. So I talked with Stephanie for a while about the scope of their work, and it was pretty cool because they had a ground mount solar installation just behind their building. And so we talked a little bit about what they did, and she told me about the agricultural projects that she works on and getting funding for those, and working with the communities, people who want to farm and plant and do their own agricultural production. While I was there, I met another person. His name was Lyle Yazzie, and he was actually interested in learning off-grid installation and maintenance because he wants to build his own home and have his own off-grid installation on it, which is really cool. In a way, that's kind of one volunteer. I mean, it's not a lot of progress, but there's some progress being made, and really, that's how I've done this the whole time. Is, it's not from 0 to 100 within a day. It's always, day 1, what can you do? How many connections can you make? Day 2, how can you expand on that? And so I know that through persistence, which is what I've been doing this whole time, great things can be done. So anyway, it was great talking to Talani Lake Enterprises and getting to know the people there and the community engagement they have and how they've been able to apply for grants and get the projects that they've been wanting to do off the ground. The next day I decided to travel to Black Mesa and visit the mines and see the infrastructure and the impacts for myself. I've never been there before, so I decided to park my vehicle at the highway and then hike up to the community after that. And while I was walking, I met a man and his daughter, and he confirmed the closing of the mines and the accompanying power plant, and that a lot of the people were out of work now. And he told me about his uncles and a few of his relatives who were working at the mines and the power plant previously. So I continued on, and a lady by the name of Pauline Yazzie was nice enough to pull over and kind of check on me because I had been walking all day. I talked with her for a bit about how she has a couple of elderly relatives who live up there that she takes care of. She's also a chapter liaison for the Kayenta chapter. After talking with her a bit, she was more than willing to help me with my project, speaking with people who were affected and worked in the mines and the energy companies. She told me about her clan brother who worked in the mines for quite a long time and who had a lot of stories about the mines. And then she also informed me of community meetings about the closing of both the mine and the generating station. So I realized at this point then, rather than showing up and acting like I have, blah, 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 woo, I have the answers, right? I realized that, I need to humble myself first and then so collect more data and get a better understanding of the problem and a feel of the collective attitude of the people. She took me over to her clan brother's residence, and unfortunately he wasn't there. But at this point, I don't think I was really ready. I think first of all, I need to work on my Navajo more, and then at some point I'm going to need to get like a translator as I'm pursuing these stories and then really trying to uncover the narrative and I think the general feeling of what's going on right now within the Navajo Nation and the community. I finished that day up by being picked up by a young family, and they were kind enough to ferry me back to the highway, which is where my car was parked. And I was very thankful for that because I had been on my feet all day. So thank you. So Thursday I had my car serviced and flagged, and then I immediately left for the loop chapter once again. And once I got there, I talked to the clerk, and she unfortunately confirmed what I was afraid of, that the chapter official that got the funding and implemented those projects has moved on, and there's no remaining paperwork or contact to work with for those projects. She was telling me that once their systems malfunction, they're simply referred to outside companies for the repairs. The chapter doesn't have any overarching program for the off-grid installations. Yeah, I have the knowledge and the know-how to do the work, and I simply haven't made it this far to give up so easily. So Friday I spent all day hiking around Navajo Generating Station to kind of mentally prepare myself for the long journey ahead and solving this problem of how to get the funding while at the same time not having the backing of a solar company, but also how to work with the chapters without any established proof of that, without any established proof of what I can do. I decided that I need to implement like a pilot or demonstration project to prove that I can do this work and it can be done immediately. So I will need, moving forward, to identify a family that I can work closely with, that we can install an off-grid system for. And with this pilot program or this demonstration project, then it can be a physical example that I can, show people. First, what I need to do is I need to find a family that I can work with. And then once I find the family, then I can draft up the designs and the scope of the work. Once I understand how much money this will take, then I can put together some kind of materials to submit for, some kind of grant. I know there's a lot of community foundations out there, and there's also people, I think, who would like to experience the Navajo people and the Navajo culture, who would be willing to pay money toward a socially minded project, a philanthropic project, while also being able to experience the people, which I think that's the best way to come and experience Navajo land, is to give to the people in a meaningful way. And then in return, you get to see their culture, you get to see what the people are like. So, very quickly humbled, very quickly, I think, brought to reality. And I think, which is a good thing, the more trials, the more robust the program. What I need to do next is I need to establish community connections, go to community meetings, if there's any community service that I can do. And in the meantime, I'll be drafting up some initial design plans, which I've already started on, and work on my Navajo language skills, because that's something I've always wanted to do, is learn Navajo. But now I finally get the chance to do it, and if I could use Navajo in the scope of this work, then all the better. I'll begin drafting those initial designs, so when I find a family to work with, then I'll have a straightforward idea of how to move forward, and we can work together and hopefully produce something that will be good for both me moving forward and the family. Those are my updates, and I'll update you again sometime.